Thank you for coming to our Thrive Through Thursday video on studying and test taking advice. First, we want to talk about test preparation. What do you need to know to study smart? So, there are a couple strategies you can use to prepare. First, you can think about study aids like flashcards. Things like Quizlet have flashcards for free on a variety of subjects, or you can make your own, and they're virtual flashcards. So it's not something you have to carry around with you, but it's something you can pull out and work on whenever, like, you're waiting in line, or you're just chilling between classes for a little bit, or you have a little bit of downtime while you're waiting for a friend to get to Pierce. Remember, too, it's important not to cram, but to pace yourself by studying a little bit at a time. You aren't going to retain the material well if you cram it all in one setting. Giving yourself time to absorb the material slowly over a period of a couple days or a couple hours is much better, especially if you take breaks in between to really let the information gel. You should also think about studying with a group. Doing things with your classmates or other people in the course, but in a different section, can really be helpful because they might have ideas about what they remember that you don't, and they might have little tricks or ideas to help you. You should think about going to the MSSC or the Math and Science Skills Center if it's a STEM-based lower level course, or think about other campus resources for support like SAS's website that has all sorts of study guidelines, or the Writing Center because we can help you enhance your study skills through our academic skills tutoring. Last but not least, if a concept is confusing to you, go straight to the source and visit your professor in office hours. They can help you the most. You also want to think about various ways of finding study support. So, great apps like Quizlet and Anki can offer you help. And again, people may have already created the study tools, so you don't need to start from scratch. You can also think about crafting concept maps and designs to look at the ways subjects interrelate or connect with one another from a given chapter or a series of chapters. You should also see if your subject has summary sheets through the library case search. We have one pictured here on microbiology, but there are so many. There's even some on things like the GRE. So think through your campus resources and study smarter, not harder. And then also see if your instructor can recommend a tutor or additional support resource. Maybe they have a YouTube channel, for example, that they like to recommend to students. Next, you want to think about smart test taking practices. Things like getting a good night's sleep before the exam are really, really important. Preparing everything you need the night before, including things like a calculator or the outfit you want to wear, choose something comfortable, can really be helpful. Eating before the exam, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, also helps you think better on a full stomach. Going to the restroom before the exam is also helpful. You think better on an empty bladder. But taking a water with you or something to drink with you during the exam might help too and snap you out of it if you need a break. And then plan a fun activity to treat yourself after the exam. Is there a movie you want to watch? Is there something you want to do with friends? That can really help and motivate you. You also want to consider making practice exams. A great method for studying to retain the information you need is to make a practice exam. So think about how to create questions based on homework prompts you've been given, chapter summaries in your texts, your professor during office hours, if they have additional work they might be able to give you, and any previous assessments you've had on the same topic. So maybe now you're taking the midterm, but you've already had quizzes or other exams. How can you use those to make a practice exam? Also, think about making practice exams with your friends and then quizzing each other using them as sort of your answer sheets. Once you've gotten your studying done, you also want to think about good strategies for test taking. What do you need to remember to not get anxious during your test? First, we consider the deter method. Read the directions, that's a D, so that you know what your professor wants you to do. Examine the various sections of the exam to make sure that you know what's required and where the point values are sort of divided up. Plan your time accordingly, that's the T, to respond to each section. Think about what's easiest and begin with those questions that you're most certain about. And finally, if you have time, review your answers and see if you want to change or add anything. Avoid letting the anxiety build. If you think it will help, it's a good idea to ask your professor about the format of their assessments if they don't tell you in class. Knowing ahead of time that you're going to be taking a multiple choice and short answer exam or an essay exam or a blue book exam can really help you demystify the experience and thus not let your anxiety build. Organize your environment to be successful. Again, this is where we mentioned wear something comfortable, sit in a place that you like that's well lit maybe, or has little distractions, or isn't near or is near the door, depending on how you feel about that. Also think about where you can get a timer, use your watch, or make sure you're near the clock in the classroom. Arrive early to the testing or assessment location so you can get that comfortable environment. Read the entire assessment carefully before answering any questions, again, going back to that deter method. And then pay attention to the time you have available so you won't have any surprises. You won't be rushing at the last minute. One of the best techniques is in a test taking anxiety situation is to reset using the 5-4-3-2 breathing technique. So we recommend this to a lot of students. First, you focus on 5 things you can see around you, though not your peers' exams. 4 things you can touch, again, with consent. 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This is also where it might be helpful to have like a Gatorade or water with you in the exam. This technique helps you focus on something other than your anxious thoughts or your stressful feelings and brings you back to the present moment so you can finish the exam calmly. We also want to recommend a couple campus resources for support that we haven't already highlighted in large detail. First is the Math, Science, and Skills Center. This is a great place to help get advice on those lower level math and STEM courses from people who have taken them and are assigned to help you in those specific courses. The Writing Center community is also a great opportunity for support. We can actually help you with test taking anxiety, as well as study skills and test taking skills and note taking skills, and a variety of other things like avoiding procrastination. The counseling center is also a great resource. If you're feeling anxious before tests, they can give you way more methods than we can for how to address that. They are an excellent resource. And last but not least is Case Search, Chalmers Library search option, which has all kinds of study guides on it that you aren't even aware of yet until you look. Thank you so much for listening. We hope to see you soon. Bye.